Ally with the Army Painter as we target new theaters of World War with 2 exciting new paint sets. Adding to the World War II American, British 8th Army, German and Soviet forces are the German Afrika Korps and Imperial Japanese sets. Combined, these sets make up the new expansion for Warpaints Historical. Every color in the range comes with history's seal of approval, all of them meticulously selected with input and guidance from expert historians. Today our sights are set on the German Afrika Korps and the 10 paints found inside, representing new additions to the Army Painter catalog of color. This set reflects documented desert adaptations, including lighter uniform tones issued for heat and sun exposure, vehicle finishes selected for arid terrain, and equipment colors shaped by constant dust and wear. Rather than standard European field grays, these paints capture the practical appearance of German troops serving in the Western Desert. Today we're going to show you just how to use the colors inside as we take you back to school at the Army Painter Academy. This is going to be more than just a history lesson. Prime your miniature first. We recommend our color primer sprays. We use a zenithal in the tutorial to help showcase the color and coverage, but you could save loads of time by using a color like Desert Yellow from the color primer spray range, for example. Our first base coat will feature dark DAK sand. Wondering why it's DAK and not DAK? Well, it stands for Deutsches Afrika Korps, or German Afrika Korps, but I think the rights to GAK were taken by Mattel and Nickelodeon in the early 1990s. And if you understand that reference, welcome to Joint Pain.
What is GAK?
GAK is great stuff. Oozy.
We're using a Wargamer layering brush here, which is ideally suited for all of your base coating and even some detail needs. We're going to focus the application over the entire uniform, including the helmet of this Desert Fox or Desert Rat, depending on which side of the war you were on. We'll apply our first layered highlight using mid-DAK sand. Use this over the raised folds, sharp edges, and upper volumes across the mini. This is one of the areas where I really have to praise our paint development team and their work with published historians in their incorporation of our triad systems with the common historical uniforms throughout World War II. Moving on, we'll apply a base coat of desert skin on the face and hands of this corpsman. Next, raw wool is called to the front lines to base coat the lightweight straps before using bleached strap gray on the pouches and other details. We'll use steel, and this is the historical take on gunmetal from our core Warpaints Fanatic range. Now this set does not feature metallics or washes to maximize the colors, as many of the washes and metallics already exist with similar or different names in our broader Fanatic and historical paint systems. Joachim is the designated studio painter today, and he's going to do a bit of rough, wet blending of the dark, mid, and light DAK sand colors on the base. I'm going to utilize the wet paint to ensure even coverage and all of the nooks and crannies, and blend one color into the other for a natural but non-uniform look. Next up is dark tone to apply a shade across the darker and metallic details on the mini. Warm skin shade is then employed on all of the light and neutral colors, including the flesh, as this ruddy light brown adds a unifying sepia filter to the mini. Once those washes have dried, go back to the mid-DAK sand to reestablish the layered highlights, utilizing the natural darker filter as an additional shadow tone from that wash. We'll then work up to light DAK sand to apply an even more focused and refined highlight. This is reserved for the sharpest details like the most raised volumes and edges. We'll repeat this process similarly on the strap gray areas. This time instead we'll mix a bit of the mid-DAK sand into it, as the smaller details benefit from some additional brighter mixes to create simple contrast. Tidy up the lightweight straps with a highlight of raw wool. Go ahead and add in a bit of light DAK sand for that final highlight. What I really like is how the blending of these colors creates some thematic harmony, fitting for recreating such a harsh desert environment in miniature form. We'll move on to reestablishing our volumes with desert skin on the exposed flesh, just leaving some of that shadow in the recess. We're just coloring inside the lines. This next step is completely optional and could be similarly achieved with a focused wash of dark tone, but Joachim is showing off a very traditional historical painting technique called blacklighting. Something popular in scale modeling as well. This technique creates more visible separation, almost like the outlines of your favorite cartoons and comic books. Using a very small Wargamer detail size 00 brush and thinned matte black, apply this carefully and controlled to the deepest shadows between each color. Joachim's going to add a bit of life back to the skin tones with a mixture of desert skin with some colors from our expanded historical and core Warpaints Fanatic systems. One of them is Command Red and Matte White. We're just going to apply this pinkish mix as a highlight to the most prominent facial details and the knuckles of our soldier. Then he'll thin a bit of Command Red with some Warpaint Stabilizer and apply a very thin glaze to the skin areas, especially the shadowed areas. Again, this is a bit of extra credit here at the Academy, but it's a fun technique and you should really give it a shot at home, learn it, because it can gently push your finished projects into a far more elevated direction with just a few simple steps. We'll clean up the metallics with a tight highlight of steel and just take your time and lightly pick out the raised reflection points. Could follow a similar process here, but this time with matte white, just to trace some reflection points, especially like here on the goggles. We're going back to the base with a second wet blend of the DAK triad, this time leaving some of the darkened details from the previous wash untouched. Then to give it that sun-bleached effect, Joachim's going to apply some of the bleached strap gray to paint a cast shadow behind the soldier's boots. Cast shadow is a term to explain the drawing on of a shadow on a three-dimensional miniature. It's often used by some of the best painters and showcase painters in the world, which would make you think that it's very difficult, but if you follow along, it's actually very, very simple. Just apply a liberal amount of the thin paint closest to the miniature where the shadow would be the most harsh, closest to the boots here, and then just simply feather it out. That's all. Finish your base off with the rim color of your choice. Black is always a safe bet, and in some people's opinion, the correct call. But hey, we're the Army Painter. There's no rules, just paint. Then go ahead and add some flock or battlefield's tufts that suit your army's theater of war, and your MP40 wielding desert rat is ready for battle. Paint accurately with confidence thanks to the tabletop gaming industry's first ever era authentic paints. Available worldwide at trusted game stores and online. Learn more about this set and the Army Painter's full range of paints and accessories created by our passionate team of gamers and painters to keep your hobby fast, easy, and most importantly, fun when you visit thearmypainter.com.